Imagine living in a country that proudly claims to be a democracy, yet one person, the president, has the power to decide when to go to war, which country to attack, and which soldiers to send to the battlefield. No approval from Congress, no consultation with the public, no debate. Just a single signature and thousands of lives are put at risk. Should such power rest solely in the hands of the president? Is the US Constitution truly so weak that Congress has become a mere spectator, or has this power been deliberately concentrated in one hand? In today's video, we'll uncover who truly holds the constitutional authority to declare war, the president or the people's representatives in Congress. This story might change the way you think. The US Constitution clearly divides war powers, but the debate continues over who ultimately holds that power, the president or Article I, Section 8 of the Constitution gives Congress the authority to declare war, raise and support armies, maintain a navy, and approve military funding. On the other hand, Article 2 designates the president as commander-in-chief, meaning he leads the military but cannot independently initiate war. The founding fathers made this separation deliberately. Having learned from the unchecked war powers of British King George III, they wanted to ensure no single person could plunge the nation into war. They believed only the elected representatives of the people, Congress, should have that authority. The president is allowed to use military force only when there's an immediate, direct threat to national security, such as an attack on the country. In all other cases, the Constitution requires a formal declaration of war by Congress. Unfortunately, over time, this constitutional balance has been eroded. Presidents began exercising war powers unilaterally, sparking serious constitutional and political debates. In the early years of the Republic, war powers remained clearly divided. When the need for war arose, like in the War of 1812 or the Civil War, Congress formally declared it and the president acted only as a military leader. But by the mid-20th century, that balance began to shift. Presidents evolved from mere commanders to primary decision makers in war. In 1950, President Harry Truman sent US forces into Korea without congressional approval, labeling it a police escalation. In reality, it was a full-scale war costing thousands of American lives. In 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson used the vague Gulf of Tonkin Resolution to justify massive military escalation in Vietnam, leading to years of conflict and millions of deaths. Subsequent presidents followed this precedent. From Reagan's invasion of Grenada to Clinton's airstrikes in Kosovo to Bush and Obama's interventions in the Middle East, presidents frequently cited national security and immediate threat as justifications for bypassing Congress, gradually turning the president into a war-making authority that extended beyond constitutional boundaries. In 1973, after the devastating Vietnam War and unchecked presidential military actions, Congress passed the War Powers Resolution to restore constitutional balance. This law aimed to prevent presidents from launching military operations without congressional involvement. It required the president to notify Congress within 48 hours of deploying armed forces and mandated withdrawal within 60 days unless Congress gave explicit approval. An additional 30 days could be granted under specific conditions. Initially hailed as a historic move, the resolution quickly proved ineffective. President Nixon vetoed the bill, but Congress overrode. Yet nearly every president afterward, including Reagan, Clinton, Obama, Trump, and Biden, either challenged the law's constitutionality or ignored it entirely. Presidents argue that as commander-in-chief, they must act swiftly in crises without waiting for congressional approval. As a result, the War Powers Resolution has become more symbolic than practical, having little impact on curbing presidential war powers. Today, presidents continue to launch military actions with minimum congressional input, leaving the original constitutional intent in jeopardy. Over the past 2 decades, US presidents have launched multiple military operations without formal declarations of war from Congress. Often they rely on vague AUM faxes for use of military force, resolutions, or cite national security, and sometimes bypass approval altogether. In 2011, President Obama conducted airstrikes in Libya alongside NATO, calling it a limited action, yet the bombing campaign lasted months and toppled the Gaddafi regime. In 2017 and 2018, President Trump launched missile strikes on Syria in one shot. In 2020, he ordered the assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani via drone strike in Iraq, a move that nearly escalated into full-scale war. Congress was merely informed afterward. President Biden, too, has conducted strikes in Syria and Iran against Iran-backed militias, justifying them as acts of self-defense without seeking congressional war authorization. These examples show a growing pattern. Presidents can now engage in military conflict at will, while Congress either reacts after the fact or remains sidelined, undermining the constitutional framework. When decisions as monumental as war are made by a single individual, the president, the public naturally begins to worry. And in America, those concerns have grown louder. Legal scholars, veterans, and lawmakers alike are questioning the erosion of congressional power in matters of war. If Congress, the voice of the people, is excluded from these decisions, can we still call it democracy? Democracy depends on collective decision-making and transparency, but when wars are initiated secretly or with minimal consultation, public trust is lost. Citizens are left in the dark about motives, consequences, and their role in shaping national policy. Moreover, resources that could be spent on education, healthcare, or jobs are diverted toward endless military operations. Thousands of soldiers are put at risk. International relations are damaged, all without broad public consent. This has led many to ask, are we still living in a democracy, or has it become democracy in name only? Friends, this debate over constitutional war powers isn't just legal theory, it's a test of American democracy itself. If a single individual, even the president, can send a nation to war without the consent of its elected representatives, then the very soul of democracy is at risk. As we've seen, presidential powers have expanded while Congress has retreated. Even landmark laws like the War Powers Resolution have failed to restrain the executive branch. So now the responsibility falls on us, the people. Will we stay silent spectators, or will we raise our voices and demand that constitutional balance be restored, that no president should wield the power of war alone? If you believe this topic matters, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe with the notification bell on so you never miss our next important story.